On Thanksgiving Eve, 1971, a man walked into an airport in Portland, Oregon. He wore a neat business suit, a thin black tie, and carried a simple briefcase. He moved quietly through the busy terminal, paying $20 in cash for a short, one-way flight to Seattle. The name on the ticket was Dan Cooper. He boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 and took his spot in seat 18E. Mid-flight, Cooper handed a flight attendant a piece of paper. At first, she ignored it, assuming it was a phone number. Cooper leaned in and told her she had better read it. The note stated he had a bomb. When she sat down next to him, he opened this exact style of black hard-shell briefcase to reveal a tangle of wires and red cylinders. The entire exchange was so quiet and polite that none of the other 36 passengers even noticed. In total silence, Cooper initiated the most daring air piracy in American history. His demands were straightforward: $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. When the plane landed in Seattle, authorities delivered the ransom, and Cooper released all the passengers. Then he ordered the pilot back into the sky with just the crew on board. Somewhere over the Pacific Northwest wilderness, at 10,000 feet, he strapped on a parachute and stepped out of the aircraft into the freezing rain of a violent nighttime storm. The FBI launched a massive manhunt. Helicopters and military aircraft scanned these dense forests for months. They never found a body, and they never found a parachute. By disappearing so completely, the hijacker evaporated into a ghost story. Investigators were left stranded with almost no evidence, except for a few specific physical artifacts. The first major piece of evidence was the aircraft itself, a Boeing 727. This schematic shows Cooper's highly specific flight instructions. He ordered pilots to fly at slow speeds, low altitude, and keep the landing gear down. He also knew the 727 featured an aft air stair, a rear staircase that could be lowered mid-flight. These instructions were incredibly specific. They required an intimate understanding of commercial aircraft mechanics, indicating Cooper possessed extensive professional training in aviation. 9 years passed with no solid leads. Then, in 1980, an 8-year-old boy was digging in the sand along the banks of the Columbia River when he uncovered bundles of decaying $20 bills. This data comparison shows the FBI's original ledger of the ransom money. The serial numbers on the recovered $6,000 perfectly matched the bills given to Cooper on the tarmac. This discovery split investigators. Some argued the cash naturally washed downstream from Cooper's corpse, while others suspected it was intentionally buried there. Meanwhile, the remaining $194,000 has never turned up in circulation anywhere in the world. Finding the money should have broken the case wide open. Instead, the conflicting logistics of how it got there drove the investigation into a dead end. Decades after the hijacking, researchers applied modern forensic techniques to the most personal item recovered from Northwest Orient Flight 305, the black clip-on tie left on seat 18E. Under an electron microscope, the fabric revealed a chemical signature that original investigators simply didn't have the technology to see in 1971. Embedded deep within the threads were microscopic traces of titanium. In the early 70s, this was an exceptionally rare industrial metal. It was primarily used in high-level aerospace engineering, the exact industry that would explain Cooper's deep technical knowledge of the Boeing 727. These findings shift the focus away from common criminals and toward the specialized labs and aerospace plants where this metal was processed. The man in seat 18E wasn't a drifter. He was likely a technician or an engineer. Over the decades, the FBI investigated more than 1,000 suspects, ranging from military paratroopers to commercial pilots. Yet, upon closer inspection, the timeline or physical description for every single theory eventually fell apart. Finally, in 2016, after 45 long years of frustrating dead ends, the FBI officially closed the active investigation. We are left with a simple binary. Either the violent fall into the freezing timber instantly killed him, or he survived the drop and quietly lived out the rest of his life under a new name. The aft stairs, the decaying river money, and the microscopic titanium dust provided a brilliant profile of the hijacker, but they completely failed to provide his name. By stepping out of that commercial airplane and vanishing into the freezing black sky, D.B. Cooper escaped the law entirely. He traded a life on the ground for a permanent place as America's most enduring unsolved mystery.